We are talking with Mickey Dolenz. He is the voice of the Monkees performing at Turtle Lake, at St. Croix Casino in Turtle Lake, 8 p.m. on Friday. And, well, first off, welcome to the listeners of the Chippewa Valley. And you are coming here almost, not directly, but you were in London recently, first British show in 4 years. What was that like going back to the UK, and what's your solo show going to be like?
Well, to answer your first question, going back to the UK is always a thrill for me and always exciting. And I'm quite an Anglophile. I don't know if you know, but I lived over there for about 15 years, had a family. I was a director-producer for the BBC and for the other television companies. I had lovely 3 children, English children, and they're all actually over here now. But I'm quite the Anglophile. I love it over there, and I love the culture and the people and everything. So, and the monkey fans have always, the British monkey fans have always been, very, very supportive and very loyal. And it's always been very exciting to go over there and perform. I went with Peter over there for a couple of gigs, and we did a few back east and in the Northeast and in Canada. As far as my solo show, well, as you said, I guess I'm sort of the voice of the Monkees, and I was blessed to have, so many great songwriters write all these, unbelievable tunes that I ended up singing. Not all, but the majority of the leads on the big hits, and so I was blessed. And now my show, my solo show, consists of essentially, 80% of monkey hits, and album cuts, and I change it up a little bit depending on the venues, but I always do the hits. I mean, that goes without saying, and because I believe you have this unspoken kind of contract with an audience in a situation like this and like the Monkees, where they're there to hear those hits, and you can do all kinds of other stuff, and they'll they'll sort of graciously allow you to to do. Well, here's my new one. As long as you give them those hits, you fulfill that contract, and then you're good to go. So I'll switch it up. Sometimes I'll do album cuts, or sometimes I'll do stuff. Some song that maybe, like for instance, I do Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry, and I used to just throw it in the set, and people would look, because I just loved the song, and it was like from my childhood, but I could see the fans were looking at me and like, what? Why is he doing Johnny, covering an old Chuck Berry tune? Mm-hmm. So I started telling the story of why I'm doing the Chuck Berry tune. It's because it was my audition piece for the Monkees, and it's the song that got me the gig. So when I tell that story, then I sing the song. Then, of course, it makes a lot more sense, and I bring the audience along with me, and so you got the idea, right?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a great show, but just based on what you said there. And speaking of live shows, and we only got about a minute and a half here, but you got 2 new releases coming up. One short-term, one coming up in January to the Monkees. First off, speaking of the live shows, what I referred to, a little bit Broadway, a little bit rock and roll, that's coming out a week and a half on the 25th. I know that involves some Broadway numbers, some rarities, and et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you could describe a little bit of the creation of that. And the last question has to do with January's. We're getting the 50th anniversary of the Monkees, the Blu-ray release involving the Monkees, Head, commercials. Kind of describe everything that's coming out here.
Well, I don't know yet everything that's coming out. We're just beginning to sort of start planning and scheduling and looking at next year for the 50th anniversary. It'll go over a period of at least a year, because the show came out in September. Clarksville was a hit. We went on tour. There's so many different levels and layers of it. So we're just sort of beginning. The Blu-ray announcement is like sort of kicking it off. Now we're going to start really knuckling down and deciding when we're going out, what we're going to be doing, and and all that. But it's a bit early days to, there's no other major announcements right now. As far as the the other CD, a producer came to me that has a record, Broadway Records, and he said, "Would you be interested in in doing this?" He knew that I had a history, of course, in rock and roll with the Monkees, but then he also knew that because he's a Broadway guy, he also knew that I had a history on Broadway and in musical theater in the States and in the UK, as a matter of fact. I just did Hairspray in the UK, in the West End for the best part of a year, and so he knew that, and he said, "Would you be interested?" And it was way outside my comfort zone doing a cabaret. It's a cabaret sort of a show, but I just figured, hey, I ain't getting any younger. I love singing that kind of material, besides the monkey stuff. Love singing Broadway musical theater stuff. So I said, yeah, let's go for it. And it came out, and I'm very, very proud of it. It's a little bit Broadway, a little bit rock and roll, and it's just coming out in a week or two.
It's going to be a really cool thing to listen to. A cool thing to listen to is a week and a half from now, or excuse me, later this week, half a week from now, when you're at St. Croix Casino in Turtle Lake. Mickey Dolenz, voice of the Monkees, going to be a great show. We're giving away tickets here. People are excited about it, and I hope you have a good time here in western Wisconsin.
Thank you. See you then.